In the Emerald Isle, something unexplainable is happening. Tonight, prepare to witness the most frightening event in horror podcast history. A journey into the depths of horror history. First Class Horror presents the Class Horror Cast. Evil wears many masks, but pure horror wears only one. Support First Class Horror on Patreon for as little as $1. Can't get enough of the horror? Carve yourself a deal from official merchandise, only on Teespring. Join us on all social media at First Class Horror. We have such sights to show you.
Nick Taylor is a producer and journalist specialising in horror cinema. While working on his own projects, which include producing a documentary on Steve Johnson, while also working on Zombie Road, a feature-length VR zombie movie, he also finds the time to work on several scripts and produce his own podcast, The Nick Taylor Horror Show. The Nick Taylor Horror Show explores the techniques, strategies and key pieces of advice for aspiring horror filmmakers, straight from some of the greatest minds in horror such as Joe Dante, Mick Garris, William Lustig, Bob Briggs and many more. Nick shares some great advice for following your passions, his love for horror, some of his horror collection, and many more great stories and pieces of advice. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. What are some of your favourite horror movies? I won't ask what's your favourite of all time, because a lot of times that changes for people. But
mine changes all the time.
Is there like 2 or 3 movies that you can think of that like really?
I wish I had more unique, deep cut answers, but I really don't. Texas Chainsaw, The Exorcist. I'm a huge Mario Bava fan, and I love Kill Baby Kill is one of my favorites.
Wow, I haven't heard someone say that in a while.
Argento, I'm a huge fan of Argento, and Lucio Fulci as well. The Beyond, definitely one of my favorites too. Let me see what else. I really like Eyes Without a Face. That's one of my favorites. There's an eeriness to that movie that is just unmistakable. I don't think they even set out to make a horror movie, but that movie is one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen.
Do you have any movies that you would consider a guilty pleasure? So this was something you brought up a movie earlier, and it would be a movie that not that I'm embarrassed by it, but I like movies like I said, Valentine from 2001, Urban Legend, even the second Urban Legend.
I did not see the second one.
Those kind of cheesy, I guess they're not good movies in a way.
Right.
Do you have anything like that you constantly go back to, or things that would be considered maybe a bad movie?
Yeah. Well, this isn't a bad movie, but like a comfort movie for me is From Dusk Till Dawn.
That's the word I was looking for. Comfort movie.
Yeah. That's definitely a comfort movie. I like just having that on. Beetlejuice I watch all the time. I'll put that on and just do emails. Again, not a bad movie, but in terms of like something really cheesy, it's a great question. Lucio Fulci's Zombie. It's not particularly cheesy, but that one is always on. The Beyond, I'll just sometimes put that on because it's just cool atmospheric background noise and imagery and like that. I don't know if there's a bad one. I can't think of like a actual, cheesy bad one. I'll think on that one.
It's funny because I now that you've got companies like Arrow and Synapse and Scream Factory, I find myself rebuying a lot of movies, and I will watch the movie and then I will watch the movie a second time because they'll have multiple audio commentaries. Yeah. And I might end up watching the movie 3 times depending on how many tracks they have. And I'm like, now I feel like maybe because I'm so into so many different podcasts and it's kind of what I do as I email, go to work, do chores, whatever. And it's like, I don't know how those commentary tracks didn't take off more.
Yeah. I feel like I'm one of the only people who listens to them too.
Yeah. Because I was like, if there was a way to be able to port them over to a portable form where I could have them on a phone, then I think they might actually really take off. I think maybe it's the fact that you have to sit down and it has to be on disc and you've got to sit at the TV.
That's a really good point. If Spotify found a way to fix that or to port movies so you could watch them with commentary, that would be great. Because you listen to a Rogan episode and there's video now with Spotify. Anyway. If there was a way to do that portably, that would be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, because it's definitely a commitment to sit and watch a commentary for a movie, especially after you've just seen the movie.
Yeah.
There's some good ones, though. The one for The Witch was really, really good. The one for The Babadook was really good. Some really great ones out there.
I rewatched Hereditary and oh god, I can't believe it's gone out of my mind. Ari Aster's other movie.
Midsommar.
Yes. I rewatched them last week. I actually had forgotten how unsettled those movies made me feel.
Yeah.
Like he really
No, he's a master. He's like I'll go so far as to say he's like our new Kubrick.
Yeah.
There's a brilliance to him and Robert Eggers. There's a conversation between the two of them. I think it's on the Criterion. No, it's on the A24 podcast. This is the two of them talking about movies. They don't talk about any horror movies for the most part. They talk about like old Tarkovsky movies, and there's a level of sophistication. They're both so well watched, you know, in terms they've seen so many movies, and their cinematic sensibility is so sophisticated that I think it makes the horror work better. So I mean, I would say, and this has never come up on the podcast, but I think it's so important for horror directors to watch stuff other than horror. Because some of the best horror movies are made by non-horror directors. Friedkin was not a horror director. Spielberg certainly wasn't a horror director, but he did one of the best of all time. You know.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I think those two movies are kind of a testament to that in a way.
Sure.
Because they avoid, in my opinion, any sort of cliche. It's, I mean, I showed my girlfriend Hereditary for the first time, and she would casually watch a lot of horror movies with me, and it's just kind of like she's not necessarily scared. She's just kind of doing it because it's like I'm watching it. She'll just sit in, and this movie, she was like, "I want to turn this off."
Really?
I'm not digging this movie at all. And I was like, "Why?" And she was like, "It just makes me super uncomfortable. I don't feel good watching it at all." I was like, "That's kind of the point, to be honest."
Oh, it gets under your skin.
Yeah.
It's very palpable. Even Midsommar, too. The second time I saw Midsommar, I saw it in the theater the first time, and then the second time I watched it, I just really paid attention to it.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it, I liked it. I didn't think it was that scary. Then the second time, it just slowly started to unfold on me like, this is terrifying. But it's in such a slow burn kind of way, and it's all in broad daylight. And this thought of this community slowly taking complete and total control of you and the people around you, and your entire world caving in while you're on mushrooms. The whole thing it's very, very eerie and unsettling and terrifying. But it doesn't use any cliches. And I think as horror fans, we get used to those cliches. I can see a jump scare coming from a mile away. I feel like everybody can, you know. Yeah. But there's certain emotional beats that I don't see coming from a mile away that are present in Ari Aster movies and Robert Eggers movies. And I mean, they are two modern masters. And I think it's because they watch a lot of the right movies. And they can convey drama really, really well. And drama always makes the horror work better. Like if you care about the family and like that, the horror element works so much better. Like Natalie Erica James's movie. Why am I blanking on its title? Oh God, this is bad. IFC Midnight did it. Oh God, it was fantastic. It'll come to me. But anyway, oh God, this is going to bother me. Should I Google it?
Yeah, that's literally what I'm going for right now. It's like one of those tip of the tongue things.
Relic. Sorry, Natalie, if you're listening, I apologize. Relic was fantastic because it just preyed on so much real emotional family drama. And cinematically, I think that makes some of the best horror movies. Yeah,
definitely. And like, look, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of movies out there I'll watch exactly for that, and I've seen them like 50 times, and it's just fun. Like you said, it's a comfort movie. Things like Urban Legend. I love those movies. It's, I can see it coming a mile away, even if I've never seen it before.
Right.
And I do like the that broad spectrum. You can go from something like that to, like you said, that whole story, the sense of dread, how slow everything is moving, and you kind of get lulled into the movie. Like I found that when I rewatched it. That was the second time I had watched it, and I really like kind of got lulled into this sense of like, oh yeah, we're just watching this thing and such a slow burn. And then I can't remember at what point, but I kind of sat there going, this is actually really fucked up. And what would I do if I had suspicions that this was happening to me, but then I can't stop it from happening?
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah, it's like...
But you're right, it lulls you into it. It's hypnotic. It's like seductive. And once you're in it and you realize that you, as a viewer, have been manipulated into this scenario and this false sense of comfort and community as well. And then it all goes to hell slowly, very surely.
Yep.
It's a good one.
If you could make an installment or a reboot or get involved in an existing franchise or with an existing character, who is there something that sticks out? Would it be Leatherface? Is there something?
I want to make a remake of Peter Jackson's Dead Alive.
Nice. That's a nice
super
choice.
Realistic, the same amount of gore, but completely and totally realistic, similar to what Fede Alvarez did for Evil Dead. Just complete and total reimagining that does not try to recreate the original, but just does something in the same spirit, but a very different tone.
Mm-hmm.
That movie just I've heard multiple people say that, but that movie just satisfies my bloodlust on so many levels. It's just, there's something. Okay, that's my comfort movie.
Yeah,
that's my comfort movie. Yes.
Yeah, I like.
There's something cathartic about it. Just seeing that much blood and that much insanity, there's this release that occurs in me, and it's very calming for me. And it must sound psychotic to some people, but there's something about that movie that is very comforting, and I'm dying for it to be released on Blu-ray. So I would remake that. I am fascinated with the Terrifier clown. I love Terrifier 1. I cannot wait for number 2. If Damien ever handed that franchise over to anybody, I would want to be number 1 on that list. But yeah, I think there's so much to be done there, because I think that it's just a fascinating and utterly terrifying.
Oh my God! There's a picture, I think it is, of Art the Clown covered in blood with that smile. Mm-hmm. That thing, even as an adult, that thing, I have had probably I've had nightmares where that face has flashed up. At points, like that is like such a raw and terrifying, violent looking image.
Mm-hmm. It's straight out of hell.
Yeah.
I don't know. He hit something. He hit like a serious nerve with the creation of that character. That's why so many people are getting tattoos of it. You know, I think that tells you everything.
Yeah, just from
how many people are getting tattoos,
the facial structures and just the teeth and Yeah, and it's not overdone, but just the kind of the nuance of it is amazing. And the chin and the nose and his little goofy hat and then the teeth, and then you put blood on that, and it's terrifying. I remember a lot of the clips that were coming out for that before it released, and especially over here, because I think obviously to do with territories and stuff, it wasn't releasing at the time, and it kind of felt like it reminded me back in the days of like the video store, where you would hear about a movie and everybody would be like, oh, the Blair Witch. The guy in the video store says it's actually real. It came from the States. There was not that anybody was saying it was real, but there was this definitely over here and in the UK, there was kind of a mystique behind the character. We didn't have very much about it. Nobody could find it anywhere. There was no, not that I would condone this, but there was no illegal downloading. It was just nowhere to be found. And you had these clips and everybody, like, it built this anticipation.
Yeah.
I think it worked out in their favor.
Was it banned?
I can't remember. It had something to do with territories where, I can't remember where it released originally. I'm not sure if it was Amazon or somewhere, but Amazon UK and Ireland didn't get it.
Okay.
So it was in the States and somewhere else. And of course we didn't get it till like 2 months later or something. But those 2 months, it was like everybody, you know, on Reddit and stuff scrambling. Where can I find this? How can I get it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool mystique to have around your movie for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Particularly something as ruthless as that movie, where it's totally worth the build-up.
Yeah, 100%. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the second one.
I can't wait. I think Damien's got some tricks up his sleeve, and I think we're going to be appalled and not disappointed.
Yeah, I can imagine so. I can imagine.
Yeah, I can't wait. But I just hope that I get to see it in a movie theater, because I feel like I didn't see the first one in the theater, and I wish to God I did. But that movie is going to play beautifully with an audience. I just hope it gets one, a live audience.
Yeah. You're a movie theater guy, yeah?
As much as possible, yeah. I had that AMC stubs. I was burning that thing into the ground, going to as many as I could. But yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I haven't gone, though, I haven't felt right about going to one since all of this started, since the whole quarantine started. So I haven't been to a theater in almost a year now. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, and I feel like it's something that like people have kind of forgotten about in a way.
Yeah.
Just hearing you say that now, I'm like, yeah, it's been probably well over a year for me, and like, and I used to try and go like every week.
I know, it feels like a void. It feels like such a void. Yeah, my girlfriend and I, we both had the Stubbs passes. We would see like 2 movies in a row, bring a bottle of wine, and it would be fantastic. But yeah, we miss it. We definitely miss it. It definitely feels like a big void. You know, it's an experience that I don't care how good your home theater is.
Yeah.
It's nothing like being in a dark theater with other people, and the lights go down, and you can't mess with your phone, and it's just you and the movie and a theater of strangers, you know.
Yeah, and definitely if you take that one step further, I guess, to something like an experience like maybe like an Alamo Draft House.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have those in Ireland?
No, we don't. No, the only experiences I get are when I go to the States.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, and it feels that much more special.
Yeah. Now, I particularly miss Alamo Draft House. I used to go to the one in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's another great theater in New York called the Metrograph, which is super cool theater. It's similar. You can get drinks and show these old movies. I saw an old film print of the Shining there.
Oh, wow.
Saw Alien on an old film print. It's so cool. So cool.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's the closest thing we have to the New Beverly, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely an experience that's behind all that. And again, I keep tying it back to like the video store thing, but it's that like next level of, I don't know, I don't even know if I'd call it immersion, but it's this thing, it's this event. You know, I'm going here. It always reminds me of that opening scene in Scream 2. Uh-huh. And I always think I was like, I wish I could go to something like that. I wish I could see Scream in a movie theater where they're handing out costumes and everybody's running around with these things. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But that scene in particular always like makes me feel really good.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Rocky Horror in the theater?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the closest experience, I think, to something like that. I haven't been in too many, although I like talked to some directors, who actually used to go to movies on 42nd Street and saw like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in New York when it came out, and people were just going insane in the movie theaters. Like back when going to a movie was a much more rowdy experience when you went to actual grindhouse theaters. Yeah, there's nothing like that anymore. But yeah, I think once theaters open up, I'm definitely going to hit the Alamo Draft House a lot. Yeah. Definitely New Beverly when I'm in Los Angeles, and I think I have to see Rocky Horror too. I haven't done that in like 10 years.
That's a fun one. That's a fun one.
That's another comfort movie.
Yeah, me too, actually. And a lot of people give me shit about that.
Yeah, it's just people that don't understand it, you know. I saw it at a young age. I saw it as a kid, and I was like, what is this? There's something about it. It's just so wonderful.
Yeah, that's always had like a kind of a special place for me. And I remember even like my girlfriend right now, when we first started kind of dating or whatever, we went to see that movie, and she was like, is everything okay with you, or you got anything you want to tell me? And I'm like, no, I just, because I'm there and I'm kind of like humming along with the songs, and she's like, do you know all the words to this? And I'm like, yep. She's like, okay. And then over time she realized that I'm maybe not as crazy, but
Yeah, it's hard to. It's just the kind of thing you can't explain to people who don't get it.
Yeah.
And I think seeing it at a really young age helps because it becomes a part of you. If you see it before you're 13, it's part of you at that point.
Yeah, because I had gone to Horror Nights in Orlando quite a bit, and they used to have a live show.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it was one of those things like where people be up singing and dancing. I never really took it that far, but it was something that I would enjoy just sitting there and watch people experience it. And then you could see the people maybe sitting in for the first time, or the dad with the family who didn't realize. He's like, want to get out of the heat for a while. And he's just kind of sitting among people going, wow, what is going on?
Yeah, I saw that. I had when I was young, I think I was like 17, I had a portable DVD player, and I was with my parents. I think I was 16. No, I was young. I was like 15 maybe. Yeah, I think I was like 15. I was going to the Caribbean with my parents, and I had a portable Blu-ray player. No, a portable DVD player on the plane. I started watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show. My dad sitting next to me starts watching it with me, and there's this like kind of conservative older woman next to us, and Frankenfurter comes out with this full regalia, and she's like, "What are you both watching?" And my dad was kind of embarrassed about it. I kept watching them, and then sex scene after sex scene occurred, and it was kind of an awkward moment for everybody. I didn't care.
Yeah, that's a movie that I don't think I'll ever, no matter how many people try and shit on me about it, I just don't care.
It came to Broadway maybe like 10 years ago.
That would have been
maybe
fun.
like 9 or 10 years ago, and it was fantastic.
Oh, did you go?
Good. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was a Broadway production of it, and it was cool to see it reimagined, and it was fantastic. It didn't feel like, oh, it's a remake, but I mean, it clearly was on the stage. Joan Jett played Magenta, which start there. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. But the music was all the same songs, but it was a little different. It was the sound was a little bit different. It was just a bold reimagining of it that still kind of had roots in the original, but it was really cool to see it on a stage. The Broadway production of it was fantastic.
Is there any movies due out this year? I don't want to jinx anything by saying that they won't get moved or changed, but is there anything that sticks out for you that's right now at least supposed to come out this year?
I mean, in terms of last year, I still kind of do an inventory of the pain that I have in my life, having not seen Ghostbusters Afterlife, having not seen the new Candyman, having not seen Antlers, the Guillermo del Toro produced movie. Definitely looking forward to Quiet Place 2. I think those are the big ones. Ghostbusters 3 is the real big one. I'm dying to see that, man.
Yeah.
I think he's going to do it right. He's really going to do it right. I just got so excited by the trailers, and that one I'm really looking forward to. Let me see. Kong versus Godzilla looks awesome.
That looks fun.
I like those kaiju movies. Pacific Rim is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I would say those are the big ones, but Ghostbusters and Candyman probably being the two.
They're probably my two. I was like shattered over Candyman.
Yeah.
That was one of those movies I remember seeing like way too young.
Oh yeah.
And being like so afraid of Candyman, like genuinely afraid, and I would like hear that voice. I'm not going to try because I won't do the voice justice, but just his voice echoing. It got to the point where at times I swore I could actually hear it, and then I got the chance to meet Tony Todd a couple of years ago at a convention.
Nice guy, right?
A super nice guy, and I couldn't help myself, but in a way, kind of fanboy out and tell him that story of like I used to be genuinely like so afraid. Like so afraid.
Yeah, that one is terrifying. It's so good though. I mean, I want more Clive Barker movies to occur. I really enjoyed the Books of Blood that they did on Hulu. I thought that was cool. I'd like them to do the rest of them, but I feel like we need more Clive Barker in our lives right now. Apparently, there's a Hellraiser series that's on the way, but they've been talking about that for quite some time.
And Clive Barker, I've had this conversation a few times. I feel like that his stuff hasn't really been done justice in a lot of ways, and like that's another one of those franchises. I love Hellraiser, and I love Pinhead. And to be honest with you, I'll actually take all the movies. I know they get like super bizarre and kind of weird at points, but I feel like there's still iconic moments in them that I can like, they stick out in my mind. Like Doug Bradley is so good as Pinhead, and I would put him up there and maybe people will get offended by it, but I kind of, for me anyway, I put him in the class as Robert Englund with Freddy.
Oh, for sure.
I just find it so hard to look at anybody else or even think about somebody else playing him. There's a scene from, I can't remember right now which movie it is, where he's in a church, I think, and he's standing at the altar. Yes, that exact pose. I wish people could see that pose. That thing, I saw a print of that recently, and I was like, that, I don't know why, but that sticks out to me as like super iconic for like 90s like horror.
Yeah. It's unsettling, but it's also a little humorous as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one franchise that I never really got tired of. Similar to the Texas Chainsaw movies, they're not all great, but they're all interesting. They all do something a little different. They're not, formulaic, the way a lot of other franchise movies become formulaic.
Yeah.
But the Hellraiser series seemed to keep trying to reinvent itself. I even liked the one that came out a couple of years ago, super low budget, but I thought that worked in its favor.
Is it Hellraiser Judgment?
That was it. I thought that was really cool. Really cool. Was it perfect? Probably not, but it was worthwhile to watch, and it was just a bold reimagining. I don't think Doug Bradley was in it, unfortunately.
No.
But I thought it was just because I just love that. I love the mythology of the Hellraiser movies. It's so terrifying, and it's so just intricate, and Clive Barker's beautifully twisted mind is on full display.
That movie, I think, is getting its Blu-ray release in
Judgment,
the UK and Ireland, I think, soon. I'm very sure I've seen something about that. And there's a couple of interesting characters in that. There's another guy who's in that movie. Is he called the Auditor or something like that?
Yes, the Auditor. I think that's the director. I think the director.
You might be right. Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah.
I just thought he was like a cool looking character, kind of fun.
Yeah, apparently there's a lot of fun to be had with the Hellraiser graphic novels. I've heard Rebecca McKendry talk about them and describe some of the stories, and they get intricate in terms of the different levels of hell and different types of Cenobites and things like that. But there's a lot of cool mythology there. And there's a book series, I believe, and I think the woman who played the female Cenobite, whose name escapes I think she's written a couple novels that take place in the Hellraiser universe. I mean, it is a pretty big piece of mythology, and there's a lot of books and stuff that come from it.
There's a lot of lore there that I think if they do make a TV show or whatever happens with that, there's a lot of avenues they can go down, and it will be cool to see. I'm surprised that somebody hasn't tried to. I don't know who holds the rights to all that. I'm surprised that some of these companies haven't tried to like reinvent him, especially, and I've thought this for a couple of years now, the fact that we don't seem to be getting any real news on Nightmare on Elm Street. Friday the 13th obviously is still going through its thing. I know we've got Halloween.
A lawsuit, right?
Yeah, and I'm surprised that nobody has tried to latch on to more of the other characters. Like obviously Candyman is going to do its thing. I'm surprised nobody has tried to target Hellraiser or Pinhead. And
yeah, well, maybe with the show they're going to do that. I don't know. I'm curious to see what will happen. I think I keep seeing this headline about Clive Barker just getting the rights back to something. I think it was the Hellraiser series. I'm not sure, which is definitely interesting news. But I think the show will do it justice because, I mean, as you said, there's so much lore, and I think they can really delve in and do some real deep stuff because the material is like there's. What struck me about Hellraiser when I first saw it was it's so twisted and so demented. But there's a beauty. There's a beauty to it. There's these very poetic notions of hell and suffering and pain and pleasure, and what my 16-year-old mind couldn't really digest at the time. But there's just this very poetic element to it that's terrifying, but beautiful in a way. And I think with the show they can really delve into that, because it's just like a nuance to the terror that's in Hellraiser.
Are you just on the topic of like all those sequels and stuff? It reminded me of. Have you? Well, I'm assuming you've probably seen some of them, the Leprechaun movies.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Are you a fan of that kind of thing or no?
Oh yeah, I love the Leprechaun movies. I saw Steven Kostanski. He did Psycho Goreman. I saw his Leprechaun pretty recently, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, those movies are cool. They were trying to do. I think Tony Todd mentioned this when we interviewed, but they were going to do a Leprechaun versus Candyman movie.
Sign me up. Doesn't sound like a great idea, but
No, I think you need something a little bit more, I think they need to be in the same weight class for it to be a fair fight. Freddy, Jason, they're probably...
Which is one of my
similar
top 10 favorite movies of all time.
Is it?
That's like a comfort movie for me, big time. I have probably seen Freddy vs. Jason in excess of 100 times. Easy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're making me want to see it again.
That was one of those movies that I just... Anytime I would feel bad, have a bad day at work, anything go on, I was like, right, Freddy versus Jason again.
Nice. You're inspiring me to watch it. Yeah, you actually Idle Hands. You're shaking loose a lot of my comfort movies as we're talking this through. Idle Hands is another comfort movie of mine for sure. I love that one.
I've recommended that quite a few times actually, and the response has been like great. Every time I've told somebody about that, they've come back and been like, "Wow, I never heard of this movie, didn't know it existed, and I loved it."
It's fun. It's so much fun. Big budget, and I don't know how not a lot of people are talking about it, but I remember seeing it opening night in the theater and being blown away at just how much fun it was.
Yeah.
It's just like fun teen 90s comedy, but with all of those kind of horror tropes that we like, and it's very tongue in cheek. Not particularly scary, but it's just fun. I love fun horror movies. It's like a ride.
Are you a fan of what Blumhouse have done with Halloween and Michael Myers?
I was very excited when they came back and decided to bring it back. My only beef is the opening sequence, as I thought we should have gotten it. We should have gotten a kill. Opening sequence before cueing the music. We should have gotten a really good kill. But
I'm surprised by that.
I think what they're doing is great. I think that they're bringing it back and they're going back to the lore of it all. And I think I'm liking the stories. I can't wait for Halloween Kills. I think they gave us what everybody wanted. Is we want to know similar to what J.J. Abrams did with Star Wars. We want to know what happened next. What happened next to Princess Leia? What happened next to Laurie Strode and seeing her as a badass? Some of the other movies had previously attempted to do that, but it never kind of fit concurrently in the timeline that they had previously established. But I thought that they were really smart to just etch a sketch every movie and just nope, we're gonna wipe everything from the slate and we're gonna start fresh from. Did they pick up after Halloween 1 or Halloween 2? I think that they basically forgot that Halloween 2 and onward.
It's number 1, I think. So we just go straight from number 1.
Wipe the slate clean. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what everybody wanted. Although I really like Halloween 4.
Me too.
I think that's one of the best ones. That one's excellent. And that was one of my favorite franchises as a kid, which I think I saw 5 of those movies within like a few days. That was one of the first R-rated movies my parents let me watch as a young kid. I think I was like 9 or 10. And then it was like my dad kind of had this deal where like if I saw one movie in a franchise, I basically had license to see all of them. So if I could see Halloween, I just assumed I could see them all. So I rented Halloween. I'd already seen 2. I'd already seen Season of the Witch. I think I did 4, 5, and 6, and I watched them all throughout over the course of a weekend. And then I was convinced Michael Myers was like standing outside the window, was on the other side of the shower curtain, and so that one stuck in my head as a young kid. But yeah, I'm psyched for Halloween Kills.
And funny, actually, I think Blumhouse at one point were in the talks to do something with Hellraiser. And
really?
And another big franchise, I think. Was it Scream, possibly, that they were looking at or something?
Maybe.
There was something going on there. I don't think anything ever happened.
They're talking about doing The Exorcist now.
Interesting. Because I kind of enjoyed that TV show or whatever you want to call it.
I did too, with Gina Davis. That was a lot of fun. I didn't finish it. I keep meaning to finish it, actually, because I like how it delves more into the mythology of demonic possession, and we see other cases other than Reagan, which is terrifying. I keep meaning to read the book also. I have the Bill Blatty book, but I haven't read it yet. But yeah, the TV show was good. I think it ended after only 2 seasons, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unfortunately. You said so Exorcist is one of your favorite movies. Have you seen the other Exorcist movies?
Like other movies about exorcisms?
No, like Exorcist 2 and...
Yep, I saw 2. I saw 3. I didn't see... There was a prequel. I didn't see that one. But I saw 2 and 3.
How do you find number 3? I had seen that.
Three's definitely interesting.
For the first time recently.
Yeah? What'd you think?
surprisingly good, actually. I was really surprised. I had heard so many people talk about it, and then Arrow obviously have they re-released it and whatever. I can't remember if it's in 2K or 4K, but I went back and got it. A lot of people call it the true sequel.
Yeah, because the second one you just want to forget about. The second one was not good.
Yeah,
but I had a huge crush on Linda Blair after seeing the second one. She looks gorgeous in that movie.
Mm. Yeah, that's a weird one.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre and it's not very satisfying. But 3 is like, all right, this is a little different. It's definitely different. But I'm curious as to what they would do with the franchise, because I feel like the name of the game is don't try to remake, just reimagine, re-envision. And I think that's what Fede Alvarez did so brilliantly with Evil Dead. You know, there will never be another Ash. Never, ever. You can't create a new Ash. So you just do something with the concepts from the original, but you bring it into a completely different story and a different tone, and just reimagine, don't remake.
I'm really disappointed we never got to see the Freddy versus Jason versus Ash.
Were there in talks to actually do that?
Yeah, so there is. I'll send you a link. There's like a rough draft of the story and the treatment for that movie. You know what?
Yeah.
Actually sounds kind of fun. I know it. I remember when I first heard it, because I love Freddy and Jason so much. I love that movie. Again, it's a ridiculous movie and a lot of it doesn't really make sense, but I was like, oh no, I don't want to see Ash come into it. It just makes it a joke. And I'm like, wait a second, I just watched a movie where Freddy and Jason are like doing this whole thing. It's like, and then I read the treatment and I was like, do you know what? Actually, that would have been kind of fun. Yeah. Obviously, it's like super like campy and
might not be too late. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. He's a character that always sticks around as well.
Who's that, Ash?
Yeah, like that. The fact that, like, you know, Ash versus the Evil Dead came back around and that whole thing.
That was so much fun.
Yeah. Is that finished altogether?
Yeah, they canceled it.
That's such a pity.
I know. But they're doing a new Evil Dead that I believe takes place in the new Evil Dead universe. But if you look at the end of Fede Alvarez's Evil Dead, after the credits, you see Ash. I don't know how many people have done that. But there's a little clip with Ash at the end of that. Yeah. So who knows? Although he did, Bruce Campbell did swear that he would never play Ash again, but he just did the voice for Ash in the Evil Dead video games. So I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen with Ash?
It's so weird that there's so many characters like that where, like, you've got Robert Englund with Freddy, Tony Todd with Candyman, Doug Bradley with Pinhead, Bruce Campbell with Ash. There's probably other characters out there from different genres that are similar, but I feel like the horror ones especially are so iconic.
Oh yeah. I think the closest thing I would say would be action stars like Snake Plissken and Mad Max and what's John McClane. But no other genre I think has such iconic, icons of the genre that are so closely tied to the actors who played them other than horror. No doubt.
So you said you are working on a documentary. I know you probably can't say too much about that. So after that point, then what's the goal then? What's the next?
Got some scripts that I've been working on and polishing and and specifically writing things that are low budget that, if I had to max out a couple of credit cards, I could make it that way. Not that I necessarily recommend doing that, but I want to do something. I have a few other documentary ideas in mind, but, I think my heart is definitely in fiction. I was doing more scripted stuff. So got a few scripts that I'm working on and polishing. I got 3 that are in different phases. I wish it was more organized and had like, all right, I'm finishing this one and now I'm going to start a new one. But it's like, no, I got 3 that are in different phases right now. 2 are, I have 2 that are pretty much done. But I find like sometimes if I'm working on something for a really long time, I'll need to put it down and then jump on something else. It just feels more sustainable. But yeah, I got 2 that are actually, I'll just say it. I have 2 screenplays that are done. I'm just over polishing them right now. And then I have 2 others that I'm still kind of tooling around with, concept wise. But yeah, I have 2 that are done that are different budget tiers. One's pretty low budget.
All horror?
All horror. all horror.
Any particular subgenre?
The one I'm really excited about is serial killer related. Yeah.
Nice.
And I think there's more to be done with zombies, to tell you the truth. I know we've all reached zombie fatigue, but I do think that there's more to be done there.
It's funny because there was so much with The Walking Dead. I think that it like burnt people out, but I still felt like there was room for. I know Walking Dead is zombies, but I just can't help but put Walking Dead kind of in its own category.
Yeah,
and I'm like, this is still not zombies exactly in the way I kind of picture them.
Yeah, because there's a lot of Walking Dead fans who are not horror fans, you know?
Yeah.
And it didn't open up horror for people. In other words, I don't feel like people watched Walking Dead as good as it was. I don't think it made them want to discover the Romero movies. In some cases, maybe, but I don't think it gatewayed, into horror for people. But it's its own thing.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said earlier, I try to get to Horror Nights in Orlando every year. And it's probably 5-6 years ago now. We had went and the entire event was centered around The Walking Dead. So all the scare zones, all the outside thing was all Walking Dead. It was different scenes from different seasons, which was super cool. But it even translated into that. There was a lot of more casual goers. Like a lot of the people that show up to those things, you can kind of spot the groups of like hardcore movie guys and horror fans and maybe just theme park fans. But that event really brought them to like super mainstream with such a big IP. You could tell that there was people there who probably didn't care about anything, only The Walking Dead.
Yeah, the fandom for that show was so rabid.
Yeah.
And it's anomalous though, because again, a lot of non-horror fans got into it.
Yeah, it's strange. It is kind of strange to think that it's a show like that, and it didn't really open up to the horror genre for most people.
Yeah, but they're doing Walking Dead movies now, and there's a few spin-offs, and they are. That show's not going anywhere.
Okay, so I know you're super busy, and I really appreciate the time. So I have a few final things.
My pleasure, man.
Okay, so let me see, which way will I go about this? Okay, let's go for this.
All right.
Why horror? What does it mean to you, and what keeps you coming back?
Great question. There's something inexplicable. I think you're just drawn to the genre. It's a few things. I think there's something fun about it. I also saw a stat that every once in a while you'll see statistics about horror fans and how much more emotionally resilient they are than normal folk.
Yep.
They say that horror fans are dealing with the pandemic a lot better.
I see
probably
that.
Because we have a lot of great horror movies to watch. Thank you, Shudder. But I don't know. There's something very confrontational about the genre. It's two completely different trains of thought that I think are complementary, and that is that on the one end, the movies are just fun. They're so fun, and there's also something confrontational about them, which I hate to say it. I'm always the person who, if there's a car accident, I look. Not because I'm morbid, but part of me is like, okay, you need to see what tragedy looks like. You need to know that these things exist. You need to be aware. I'm not the kind of person who wants to be shielded from the existence of certain things. And I think on one end, it definitely it's very confrontational in matters of like death and gore and things like that, which I'm not in and of itself. Like, I'm not a big fan of watching, although I do like serial killer documentaries, but like the news appalls me all the time. I don't like hearing about real killers and, things like that. I think it's a common misconception about horror fans that they are dark people, when in fact it's the opposite. I think I have a lot of light in me, and the dark is what's so thrilling because it's so different from what I typically experience on a given day. And I think a number of people have stated that about horror directors, that they're some of the nicest people you've ever met because they don't have any real darkness in them. So they seek it and they create it on film because it thrills them, because it's so different from what they experience. Wes Craven is the nicest, one of the nicest people anybody had ever met. Mick Garris is an unbelievably sweet man. A lot of people involved in horror are very nice and good and drawn to the darkness because it's very different from what they experience. So what was it? Why horror? What keeps you coming back? And
what does it mean to you?
What does it mean to me? I don't know. I just love it so much. Just, there's something inexplicable. I just was drawn to it at a very young age. I don't know. I think there's an element of just kind of expression. I think kind of similar. Like I'm a big punk rock fan as well, and going to things like Monsterpalooza for me was similar to going to like the Warped Tour as a kid.
Yeah,
you're around a bunch of people who are into the same weird shit that you're into, and communally, you feel cool being part of a tribe in that regard. So I think there's that. But I think it just mostly is synonymous with fun, entertainment, and just taking a walk on that dark, wild side. And what keeps me coming back is I think the genre has always been a good tool for political metaphor. I think it's one of the most important genres, and I think more people are taking it seriously. Not that us horror fans care about being taken seriously, but I think people are seeing that it's such a vehicle for social commentary that it'll never get old. 100%. As long as there is unrest in the world, great horror movies are going to come out of it. And just as a vehicle for metaphor, it works so beautifully. And I think it's very important from a cultural standpoint. Plus, there's also endless ways to dismember and disembowel people too. So
it makes it easy.
Yeah, I love seeing, okay, how are we going to dismantle people? Like, that's the other movie I'm dying to see is the new Saw movie.
Oh, me too.
That Chris Rock did. Yeah. So, I mean, I think between the two of them, I am so across the spectrum of highbrow and lowbrow when it comes to horror. I love it all.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And Psycho Gorman is something that everybody has just talking about. I want to show everywhere.
I want to show. Yeah, you'll see it and you will want more. I want multiple sequels, and a show would be great. It feels like it would lend itself because it's not just Psycho Gorman. There's all these other characters and the things that he builds, and it's so reminiscent of like Guyver and Power Rangers and 90s and things like that. It's like, how does this movie even exist? It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I like that. I like when somebody in any, I guess in any aspect really, I really appreciate when somebody just does their thing. Like I love Rob Zombie. House of a Thousand Corpses is definitely in my top 5 favorite movies. And look, I know a lot of people have like, a gripe with different things he does and they don't like this and they don't like that. The thing I really like about him is you will know it's a Rob Zombie movie.
Oh yeah. He's got that. Sure.
Yeah. And much the same, like we spoke earlier about your podcast, it's your show and not it's quite refreshing to hear you say, well, I didn't just want to have another thing where I just talk about movies because whatever, everybody else does it. I kind of like that when somebody just goes completely,
well, thank you.
Let's go this way and this is going to be my thing and I'm going to do it regardless.
Yeah. And that's definitely Psycho Gorman. It's such a individual vision. You can tell that it didn't get pulled apart by a boardroom of, executives. It was just Steve Kostansky's wild, wonderful, singular vision. It's so specific, which is what makes it so unique and cool.
That's cool. Right, so recommend. Last thing, and other than Psycho Gorman, if you have anything, is there a Nick Taylor recommended movie, book, podcast, anything that you would recommend to anybody listening?
I recently discovered the May the Devil Take You movies. Mm-hmm. They're fantastic. There's May the Devil Take You, which is on Netflix. Then there's May the Devil Take You 2, which is on Shudder. And I was blown away at how much fun these movies were and how intense they were and just unrelenting. And they're beautifully made. Indonesia is the next horror hotbed, if it isn't already. There's amazing horror movies coming out of Indonesia. So, I mean, I would say if you haven't already, discover Indonesian horror. There's a lot of good stuff on Shudder. Impedagore is another good one. So, definitely check out the May the Devil Take You movies. Let me see what else.
I didn't know there was another one. I thought there was only that one.
Yeah, I saw May the Devil Take You 2, TOO, thinking it was, because, I mean, that sounds like a non-sequel.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize, and then I read up on the director and was like, oh, that's his second movie? And then I found May the Devil Take You on Netflix. I was pleasantly surprised. I saw them out of order, but
I've only seen them the other way, so I didn't even realize there was a second one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the second one is excellent. They're both really, really good.
Okay, so I need to check that out.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of my big new recommendations for sure.
I find it so hard as well because I have, you know, you talk to different people and different fans, and everybody has like a different take or has found something else. And it's like, I have a watch list that's like, I don't even know where to start. Sometimes I kind of just have to randomize it and go, let me go for this.
Yeah.
And just put it on because it's so hard if not.
Yeah, I struggle with like, what do I feel like watching now?
Yeah.
Usually there's like certain movies where I just like the moment I get a minute, like Psycho Goreman, when I can find a minute, I will watch that movie. But yeah, I have a big list of to watch, and it's like, okay, what do I feel like watching right now? And that trips me up sometimes. I also recently saw Love and Monsters, which I was not, I wasn't not excited about it, but I saw it and really enjoyed it. For monster fans, that movie is a blast. It's fun. It's not very scary. It's not so horror centric, but the monster design is really good, and it's a really fun watch. So I would recommend that one as well. Again, these are not very new, but
no, but that, and I kind of like that because it's fun to call back to different things, and there's so much stuff out there that we probably all miss.
Yeah.
Like I would have considered myself a huge Adam Green fan. Mm-hmm. And there's so many little things that he has put out, and even Holliston stuff we don't have.
Which I've not watched yet.
Yeah, well, I have only seen that for the first time like a week ago. We don't have that over here. It doesn't stream anywhere. I had literally never heard of it.
Oh wow! When did you finally see it on Shudder?
Yeah, it showed up on something recently, and I was like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah, it's like a dream for horror fans, but I somehow have not seen.
I feel like a lot of people have that though, that they haven't seen it.
Yeah. I don't know where it originally aired. I think it was on I don't know what channel it was originally on, but Shudder has it now.
Yeah,
which is good. Yeah, I love Adam Green. I'd love to get him on the show. He would be awesome.
Yeah, he's a super cool guy.
Yeah. He does a lot of good stuff.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
Of course, man. This was such a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, maybe down the line we can do it in person if the world permits.
Yeah, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Definitely hit me up when you come to New York.
Yeah, of course. And just one last time then, where can people find you at? And is there anything that we should be on the lookout for?
Sure. My website is nicktaylor.com. Right now it's just a centralized location for my podcast, but I'm soon going to release a guide that I put together with 10 directors and their 10 favorite horror movies. So I'm going to be giving this away for free. You can download it on my website. I haven't launched it yet, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, you'll get to find out like Robert Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino, their favorite horror movies, and other directors like William Friedkin and even Wes Anderson. I get into his favorite horror movies as well. So just a big fundamental watch list for major directors and their favorite horror fans. So be on the lookout for that. I'll probably share it on Twitter and Instagram, and it'll be on my website at some point. So be on the lookout for that.
Okay, cool. Well, all the links will be down below. So anybody who's listening, the usual thing, I'll have all of Nick's links below. Make sure you go out and support him, show your love, let him know that you listened to this and went from here. And thanks for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for having me. This was great.
No problem.
Support First Class Horror on Patreon for as little as $1. Can't get enough of the horror? Carve yourself a deal from official merchandise, only on Teespring. Join us on all social media at First Class Horror. We have such sights to show you.